And good morning to you all, and welcome to the starting lineup. Great to have you with us on an absolutely beautiful Tuesday in the Ozarks. Ned Reynolds joined by
Scott Puryear.
Art Haynes will be with us a little bit later on, and for the next 2 hours, we're right here talking sports and whatever. I'd like to hear from you at 417, of course, the area code 447-1021, 447-1021. Phone line and the text line, they are synonymous, and indeed, want to talk to us on the air, fine. And if you wish to text us, please do. Like to hear from you. Starting lineup is brought to you by Play It Again Sports, Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield and Fremont, Springfield. Always great deals and great trade-ins at Play It Again Sports. By the Citizens Bank of Rogersville with 2 routes, that's what they call their branches, routes, and that they are indeed adjacent to Highland Springs, and there is the main route, and that is in Rogersville itself. By Swing Right Golf, which is at the south end of Campbell Avenue, a little bit north of Nixa, and it's, what is it they say there, open 364 days of the year, and by Marshfield Chevrolet at the I-44 exit. Couple of left turns, and you're right there at Marshfield Chevrolet. Big day, big night in sports, and, hey, a lot of things going on, and the Sooners are the national champs.
Yes, they are. Oklahoma completes one of the most improbable runs to a College World Series title. We'll get into that here in a second. Tell you our lineup today, 7:30, Corey Riggs, the voice of the Missouri State Bears, going to join us in his usual spot, talk summer activities for the Bears, what's going on in the portal and other subjects there. 8 o'clock, Dan Ryder, the general manager of the Springfield Cardinals, is going to join us to talk about a 2-week homestand for the Cardinals that starts tonight. Northwest Arkansas comes in for 6 tonight through Sunday, Monday off next week, and then the Arkansas Travelers in for 6. So back-to-back weeks of Springfield Cardinal home games. As usual, they've got all kinds of promotions going on, so Dan Ryder will tell us about those at 8 o'clock. And then 8:30, Trenton Berry, T-Bear, our auto racing correspondent, will join us. Trenton Berry from RacingDirt.com. We'll talk about this past weekend's races and what's coming up so you can make early plans for the holiday as well. But as Ned said, Oklahoma wins the College World Series, part of our starting 5, our top stories from yesterday. And you couldn't have picked a more unlikely team back in May to win a College World Series title than the Oklahoma Sooners. They finished 14-16 in the SEC. They were picked in the preseason in the league for, I believe, like 13th or 14th in the league. Dropped their last 4 regular season series in the conference, and then lost in the first round of the SEC tournament to LSU, the 14 seed. But here they are holding the big trophy last night in Omaha.
And indeed, the offense is what did it. It ignited after kind of an off day on Sunday when they lost the only loss that they had up in Omaha, just that one game, and it was in the would have been the championship win for them on Sunday. Got it back yesterday with a 14-hit attack and a 13-2 win. Good gracious sakes. This team really came alive at just exactly the right time.
They did, and I think the difference last night was OU's pitching, where they failed them on Sunday to get North Carolina shut down. After an early threat, they were done, and the other Mercurius, the brother, came in from the bullpen and really, I think, gave him 5 very strong innings, and there just weren't a lot of chinks in that OU armor in this tournament.
There were for the Tar Heels, however, and watching that game, I really felt like they lost it in I think it was the 4th inning, when they started walking the ballpark and had the score, I think it was 3-1 at the time, if I remember correctly, and then they started walking guys with the bases loaded, and somebody else got a big hit, and suddenly that game was 6-1, and then from there on in, out of reach.
Yeah, and I think that, they brought in their freshman Glauber that was 29-0, that North Carolina was when he pitched, and he didn't have it. He got a pitch clock violation on before he threw his first pitch. Then I think 4 straight balls, and then Willits, I believe, was the one that had just the crushing hit right after that, after he had swung at what was clearly ball 1 after Glauber had thrown 4 straight. Coach Gutton was on with us yesterday, and he said he thought OU had more pitching left than North Carolina did, and the Glauber kid had thrown 65 pitches on Sunday. Gutton didn't know how much they'd be able to use him. Well, they pulled him after 7 pitches, and he just wasn't right, and that was it.
Well, it was obvious that his arm was tired. I think he came in, 65 pitches? Is that what it was on Sunday? Mm-hmm. And here he is pitching the next day, and he just did not have it. wasn't there.
And it looked like mentally more than anything else. He got rattled by the pitch clock situation, and they were arguing with the umpire a little bit on that. But I mean, that OU offensive attack was relentless, and they kept showing the graphics last night, the number of home runs OU had hit, through the first 50-some games or 40-some games, and what they'd done in the last 20. And they were about even. They really came on with the power surge late, top to bottom in the order, and fitting for a team that nobody really expected to do what they did. The number 9 hitter, Kyle Branch, who was 1 for 16 in the World Series before last night's game, drives in 6 runs and hits a home run.
6 RBIs. I'll tell you, though, that while we make light of the fact, and I'm not making light of it, but the fact that Oklahoma was very fortunate to be in this tournament to begin with, this is their 3rd national championship. They've been there before, and I think, didn't Ole Miss beat them like a couple of years ago?
3-4 years ago, yeah. Yeah, it was OU's last year in the Big 12. Ole Miss got them in the final, and of course, Skip Johnson's kind of one of those highly respected, just a baseball guy kind of coaches, and they pieced together. The thing I think most impressive from a pitching standpoint was everybody who took the mound for them that was a key was a freshman. They started 3 freshmen on the mound this weekend, and I think last night was the first time 2 freshmen had been opposing each other in a winner-take-all game in like 20 years or something like that. But anyway, yeah, a great finish for the Sooners. My sons and I, of course, we're OU fans, and we were laughing that, you come into the year and you think football would be better and might have a chance. They get in the playoff this year. You kind of expect softball to make their usual run and win a national title. Women's gymnastics, they win it about every year, but here's baseball, out of nowhere, and let this sink in. But OU was number 24 in the RPI at the end of the regular season, 1 spot behind Missouri State.
Right.
Yeah, so it's an OU team that just found lightning in a bottle at the right time, and they're the national champions.
And that says something, too, about everything working in place. And you got to give Coach Johnson a lot of credit. He, I think, molded the team to where they were going to be a force toward the end of the season. It wouldn't have appeared that way, losing your final 4 series. But by the same token, he had them going. They got into the tournament and said, okay, guys, we'll just concentrate and play every game one at a time and hit the ball, and that's what they did.
They did, and OU baseball in the grand scheme of things takes a backseat to a few others, the ones we just mentioned. But in the spring, with what Patty Gasso and softball have done, it's almost a softball season down there in the spring. And, oh, by the way, OU has baseball, and this will help change that a little bit, I think, too, as well, with OU not making the World Series in softball and winning it in baseball there, too. So.
And in softball, with the World Series being in Oklahoma City, which is, 3 miles away from Norman?
About 10 or 12.
Is
yeah,
that
it's
what
a little bit. Yeah,
whatever it is, they're next door.
On game day, it's about 30 minutes because you can count on I-35 being bumper to bumper. But, yeah, and so now, of course, in this new world we live in, the challenge for Skip Johnson and OU is, can they keep these guys? Can they keep them together? Jackson Willits is the son of an assistant coach, a former major leaguer, Reggie Willits, and his brother Eli is like one of the top minor league players out there too. I think he's in I want to say is he in the Phillies organization as a shortstop?
I do not know.
Yeah, but he's so that's a very talented baseball family. But kind of segued into one of the other stories that broke last night with Dusty May leaving Michigan apparently to go coach the Dallas Mavericks, and I was diving into that a little bit more this morning as to the why, and especially the why on June 23rd, 22nd. And Dusty May, there was an interesting story on, I think it was CBS Sportsline's website, where the reporter was in St. Louis back in April, catching up with May. May was there receiving his Coach of the Year award. I think he was there for a little press conference, and this writer got with him, and May was in the middle of an interview with him and had to excuse himself because he got a phone call. And this is a week after the national championship game, which Michigan won, and May was on the phone with a top recruit, and the recruit was telling him that he was coming to Michigan. Well, that kid, I guess, reaffirmed his choice a couple more times in the next few weeks and still never wound up coming to Michigan because the agent was involved, and the agent decided that Michigan wasn't a good fit. So that's the kind of stuff that has chased Dusty May out of coaching, and a lot of these guys are just like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to have to, one weekend we win a national title, the next weekend I'm kissing the rears of agents and 17 and 18-year-old kids trying to get them to stay or come to our program. And a lot of these guys just saying, he looks at the NBA and goes, hey, they got a GM. He'll go find the guys for them.
That's exactly the way it works, and I think you just nailed it right there. A lot of these coaches, and you see them stepping down now. May is not the only one. There have been others who've decided, hey, who needs this headache anyway? What's the kid's name from Maryland who played for Wisconsin Green Bay? The son of the coach. He stepped down, several years ago because he'd had just enough of this, enough. And you've seen it around with LSU and other colleges. It is something that needs to be corrected.
Well, Coach K and Roy Williams and guys like that saw this coming and what it was developing into, and it's probably 100 times worse than what they even imagine now. And the thing,
Tony Bennett is
yeah. And so Dusty May said, I don't care if it's June. I have to reload my roster anyway. By the way, they open up a portal opportunity now for those Michigan players with the coach leaving, and they're trying to retain him. I think they're keeping a guy, assistant coach, to try to keep the roster continuity. But I already saw stuff yesterday that Elliot Cadeau may be on the move again. After North Carolina, then Michigan, and then now a third school there. So we'll see. But yeah, that's kind of the changing face of college sports, and Dusty May's the poster child right now.
He is indeed. I thought the guy did a great job at Michigan. That's just 2 years. That's all he was there, and had the great post at Florida Atlantic when he was down there. Took them into a championship round, a Final Four round, and a guy who really knows how to mold a team. Well, he'll have some big weapons at Dallas with the Dallas Mavericks. Takes over for a Jason Kidd who got let go, I think, in April, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
towards the end of the season.
You got to think this was probably a discussion that's been going on for weeks there. May's 49 years old, of course, never coached in the NBA. He'll get Cooper Flagg, which is a nice player to inherit if you're going to go coach in the NBA, and a kid with a lot of talent and a lot of tire left or tread on those tires because he's 20 years old, I believe, and so you get to coach him for a long time. And now Michigan will try to. And here's the thing that Dusty May did: that team he built this year was entirely built from the portal, and so that somebody else is going to do that this year. He just said, "I don't want to be that somebody else. Let somebody else, go mess with us now." So. Another big one last night is after I went to bed, but Giannis on the move. I can't ever pronounce his last name. Antetokounmpo. Yeah.
The Greek freak.
Yes, exactly. Headed down to Miami in a late-night trade, 3 first-round picks, a pick swap, a second-round pick, and a bunch of players involved in this deal, sending Giannis from Milwaukee to Miami. And NBA draft tonight. This is all stuff where teams are jockeying for their position in the draft and maybe trading some picks that are involved tonight and tomorrow. But Giannis, a good get, 31 years old, 2-time NBA MVP, won a world title. He's the kind of guy. Miami hasn't had this big a player move since LeBron and his group went down there back in 2010, I think it was.
About going to South Beach. That's exactly right when he made that announcement. But down here this year, this season, he'll team up with Bam Adebayo, and that's a very good combination. I'll tell you, Miami will be a big time force in the NBA East. And are they the same level as the New York Knicks? Yeah, they're right there. They'll give them a challenge, no question about that. The big loser in this one is the Boston Celtics.
Yeah,
they thought they had a chance at getting out of Gumbo and didn't pan out that way.
And I think it was those two, wasn't it, that were mentioned most prominently. And so Miami wins that sweepstakes. NBA draft again tonight. Washington has the first overall pick. Utah 2, Memphis 3, Chicago 4, and the Clippers 5. Several guys will be watching. Of course, Trevor Brazile joined us yesterday. He kind of indicated he thought he might be a Wednesday day 2 pick, a second-round pick there. To watch early and maybe picks 10 to 15 in that range, Cam Carr, who played down at Link Academy. Started his career at Tennessee, finished it at Baylor, 6'5" guard. He's expected to go anywhere in that 10 to 15 range. So, and then the Oklahoma City Thunder, they have 2 picks in the top 17. They picked 12th and they picked 17th. So they'll be trying to fortify their roster. One other NBA note before we go to break: Trae Young decided to re-sign with the Wizards, which means Debanta is likely the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I was going to ask you who your pick is for number 1, Debanta.
Yeah, Debanta, yeah, because I think, if they have Trae Young, they don't really probably need Darren Peterson. That would be the other option, I think, at number 1. Those are the 2 guys that are mentioned. Debanta averaged 25 a game for BYU. He's 6'9". He's a much different player than a Trae Young, and so I think that's probably where they'll go. It's interesting because Peterson, was basically saying he didn't want to go to Utah. It wouldn't go work out for him. I don't think he really has much choice in that, does he?
Do you think anybody really wanted? How many games did he play at KU?
Not as many as they wanted.
13 or 14 somewhere. He's always injured or sitting back, and it really frustrated Bill Self. He even said so in press conferences. But that translates into the thinking process of the NBA, too. Do you want a problem child like that?
Well, he must be just ridiculously talented, for them to think. Yeah, to think, because, and it wasn't how many games he played, it was how many games did he finish, because he didn't finish very many. I mean, he started a lot of them. He just would come out early in the second half, a hamstring or cramps or something. And I think they came out and blamed it on creatine, didn't they? His intake of that or something. But anyway, I don't know how. I mean, if you're Utah and the Boozer kid is sitting there, that just seems to me like a much safer investment than going with Peterson at 2. So Memphis has the 3 pick. They'll take whoever's left. I think the North Carolina kid, Caleb, last name's I'm drawing a blank, is expected to go 4 to the Bulls. And then it's kind of the Keaton Wagler, maybe Darius Acuff Jr., guys like that in that 5 spot. And we thought the way Acuff Jr. played in the regular season that, he'd be a 1 or 2, but I guess he doesn't play a lot of defense, and that's one of the things that go figure. Why would the NBA want defense? But you got to at least be able to play a little bit and guard somebody at the other end. I'm stalling for a second because it's about Cameron Boozer is the Memphis. I get the Boozer brothers mixed up, and then Caleb Wilson, the 6'9" wing out of North Carolina, number 19. And
Boozer kid's what, 6'5"?
He's 6'8".
Oh, is he that tall?
18 years old. Of course, had a great, as expected, a great year with Duke. The Clippers are projected with Wagler at the 5 pick. The rest of the top 10, they've got Brooklyn Nets. This is from The Athletic, which is owned by the New York Times. Brooklyn Nets at 6, taking Mykel Brown Jr., the guard out of Louisville, 6'4" guard.
And now, was that projection made before they made their trade last night?
This was updated with the trade last night. Okay. Sacramento Kings at 7 with Acuff Jr., Atlanta Hawks, Kingston Flemings from Houston, the 6'3" guard.
He's a good player.
Yeah, the 9 pick, it's got Dallas Mavericks, Mara, the 7'3" big from Michigan, which would make sense now with Dusty May going down there, taking one of his former guys. And then at 10, this has got the Bucks taking Nate Ament, 6'10" wing out of Tennessee. Looking at the Thunder projections, they've got the Thunder taking Merez Johnson Jr., the 6'9" other big from Michigan. And then, do they go down to 17 here? Let's see what the other Thunder pick is. Yeah, Dalen Swain, 6'7" wing out of Texas. So that's kind of the Athletics look. And, of course, there's a million mock drafts out there ahead of tonight's actual draft.
So it'll be 30 players tonight and then 30 more tomorrow, and that's it. It's a total of 60.
Yeah, and best of luck to Trevin, and thanks for coming on yesterday. And, I said it, and I apologize. I was on the move. I don't know how the audio was with that. But, that kid – not only did he transfer from Mizzou to Arkansas and take a lot of grief, basically 2 schools in our, listening area there, but then he tears the knee ligament, and then he tries to come back and play for Musselman, and that was a nightmare season, and there was a lot of ground clutter going on around Trevin off the floor that year, Musselman's last year, and to his credit, Coach Cal comes in. makes him much more businesslike, especially this last year. And now he's going to hear his name called sometime this week.
And Trayvon was, I think, very legitimate in giving a lot of credit to Coach Calipari coming in. He mentioned it time and again that he learned so much from him, as well as Robbie Anders here in town.
Absolutely. And he had, and of course, Parkview and Kickapoo helped form that for him here in town. And a kid that you're just happy for him that this is the way it's going to turn out, because he could have left Arkansas. And I was talking to one of his relatives yesterday. He said, he went back to Arkansas for 2 more years, finished strong, and now he can go to Fayetteville anytime the next 30 years and be, hey, there's Trevin Brazil, and kind of be a walking legend around there. And I think a lot of these kids now that are going to 4 schools in 4 years, they're not thinking about, okay, well, where am I welcome? It's probably going to be just the last place there. But I thought Trevin's comment about going back to Columbia and putting them out of their misery with that.
That was a great comment.
Yeah, it was.
And Trevon can say the same thing here in Springfield. Come back here with an outstanding basketball career, and he could be a very important force.
So good luck to Trevin Brazil, and I'm sure they'll have a nice little party atmosphere the next, especially tomorrow night there. So let's take a break.
We will. The starting lineup is brought to you by all of the sponsors with whom we'll be reviewing in just a second. Stay right where you are. Be right back. Great to have you with us on the starting lineup, and welcome back. Ned Reynolds along with
Scott Puryear. I guess we're not putting intro music in there anymore now.
What happened?
I don't know. It just went to talk break, and we're back.
I don't care what anybody tells you, Puryear.
Yeah.
That computer has a mind of its own.
Well, it was off when I came in, so that's always a problem.
That's not good.
Yeah, when you look up and there's nothing there. Yeah, I guess we didn't put in the welcome back intro music. So
Is
maybe
there
we'll
any way of injecting coffee into that computer?
maybe need to. Maybe we'll sing next time we come back from a break there. Again, our lineups: Corey Riggs at 7:30, Dan Ryder, Springfield Cardinals at 8, and then Trenton Berry at 8:30 from RacingDirt.com. What else? Baseball last night. Cardinals opened their series with the Arizona Diamondbacks with a 3-2 win at Busch Stadium. Get another quality start from Andre Palante, 6 strong innings, scratched out a run in the third, 2 in the fourth, and made it stand up. Riley O'Brien with his 19th save. Good start to the series for the Cardinals.
4 relievers after Palante in there, but he did. He pitched very well, but he is programmed almost to going just that distance and then being relieved. That's not my style of baseball, bringing in that relief corps like that. I think it catches up with you after a while.
Yeah, well, and especially if you have to use them again the next day, when everybody's not quite as fresh. Eduardo Rodriguez and Kyle Leahy tonight at 6:45 in Game 2. It's a 4-game series. Cardinals then have Miami coming in later in the week.
Standing O for Mr. Arnado when he came up.
Oh,
Did you
nice.
see that?
I did not. I was watching the OU. Yeah.
Walked into the batter's box, and that wasn't a huge crowd there last night, but, they were up. And Nolan, he acknowledged them, took his hat off, and waved. Catcher took a step out and gave him that time. It was very nice, very nice.
Given what they've done, and I think Blaze Jordan is growing into the position there at third, you kind of wonder if they knew that they would be, this competitive, if maybe they would have wanted to keep Arenado for the veteran presence. But again, they're trying to clear payroll and just basically reload, and he was not a part of that plan for him. But he would have been a nice defensive piece, and I think they legitimately just want to give Nolan Gorman a shot and let him play every day and see. And they've seen,
He's getting that shot in Memphis right now.
Exactly. So, so Cards win 3-2. The Royals also get a win in their opening series game with Tampa Bay down in Tampa, 2-1 the final there. Michael Wacha. Michael had not pitched well in about a month. He gives his best effort in a while. 7 strong innings. Alex Lang with the save there, the 6th save on the year, and KC is trying to keep from placing Bobby Witt Jr. on the IL, that knee issue. They're trying to have him work out and see if it's something they can avoid having him go on the list.
They call it a grade 1 sprain, and that's something I would think from which you could recover fairly quickly at his age, but evidently not.
Yeah, and a guy that I think he's got 28 steals, a guy that his wheels are one of his key components. If he can't run, you've lost a piece of Bobby Witt Jr. there. So Luinder Avila versus Shane McClanahan. God, my pronunciations today are off.
Who are you talking about?
Shane McClanahan.
Oh, Shane McClanahan.
Yeah, a guy that's come back well from multiple arm injuries and pitching very well for them. That's the matchup at 5:40 tonight. Game 2 of 4 between those two as well. And, of course, the Royals will go to Chicago on the weekend to take on the White Sox, and what would be probably a fairly key matchup for Chicago in the division, and trying to hold off the Guardians, who are severely hurt now with Jose Ramirez out for maybe a couple months with that hamate bone. The White Sox, I would think, probably may be the favorite now to hold on.
They're interesting because 3 straight 100-loss seasons, and here they are coming back and challenging for the division title. Now, they're good. They're getting better. The draft choices have helped them out, but they're still not a contender yet. I think probably somewhere along the line their pitching staff may begin to falter a bit, but be that as it may, they are there, and the fans have responded in South Chicago. They're turning out to watch the games. Interestingly enough, it's their northern neighbors who we consider to be the top threat to win a division title, and still might. Chicago Cubs are right there. They're a good baseball team, although they're, 6.5, maybe 7 games out of first place now.
Yeah, and I think, they get Matthew Boyd back later this week. Some of the guys that they've been missing, and they've got next to nothing out of Alex Bregman.
That's interesting, too, because they sacrificed a lot to get him.
Yeah, and so I think that, obviously with his track record, there should be better days ahead for him the second half. And the Cubs are kind of one of those teams that once it heats up, they heat up, and the bats will start. Pete Crow Armstrong's really come on in the last month after a slow start, and so they're one of those teams that when it gets to July and August, and they're usually averaging about 8 to 10 runs a game, they're making their move. Are we officially in the second half of the Texas League
I'm about
season?
to say, I think this is the start of it. I think tonight is. The first half's over, and the Tulsa Drillers won it. So I'm assuming that this is the first game of the second half, and it's the Northwest Arkansas Naturals who are in there.
Now, how does that work? Because Springfield only has played 68 games.
Scott, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter? Tulsa has played 69.
Right.
So will Springfield have more games in the second half than Tulsa?
I would assume they would, but I don't know that. Maybe isn't Ryder?
Yeah, Ryder's on at 8 o'clock. We'll ask him. And I'm looking at the others. Wichita has played 67, and it's a 138-game season. So in theory, you'd have 69 in each half. But Springfield, I think, also had a rain out that's been pushed back into July, which is probably where that is accounted for. But you look at the bulk of the others, and they have 68 games in, so should be the start of the second half tonight. But Springfield Cardinals home, Northwest Arkansas, the Royals, AA affiliate, in town for 6 games. And then next week, after Monday off, the Arkansas Travelers are here for 6. Kind of got lost in the shuffle because it happened late last week, and our apologies on this, but did you guys talk after I left about Gene Bess's passing?
No, did not, and we should have, and it happened right toward the weekend. Was it Friday?
Friday, I believe.
Freddie Johnson called me and said, hey, coach, and of course he was his coach in junior college, and just one of the all-time winningest coaches in American basketball history down at Three Rivers. And yeah, our deepest condolences. Does it say how old, Mr.
91, 91 years old. Won an even 1,300 games as college basketball's all-time winningest coach.
1,300.
50 years at Three Rivers from 1970 to 2020. Of course, inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in 2023. Passing of Gene Bess. I know a lot of guys in our area that played down there and moved back this year, as you mentioned, Fred Johnson, but, sad loss in the basketball world there. A couple other notes before we go to break and visit with Corey. I should have mentioned this with the Cardinals, but they did promote 2 of their high A prospects to Springfield. I assume they'll be there tonight, but shortstop Jesus Baez, 21 years old.
If he plays like the original Baez.
Yeah. Just keep bringing Baez's into Springfield. They do well, but he'd hit 14 homers in high A ball with Peoria. He gets promoted as well as outfielder Cho Won Bin. He was another highly regarded. He was actually the player of the month in the Cardinals organization in the minor leagues for the month of May. So those guys are on their way to Springfield.
What position is he?
Outfielder there. So, and then the World Cup. France beats Iraq 3-0. 2 goals from, is it Mbappe? Mbappe. I've had to go to Google and hit pronunciation more times than I ever have in radio in 25 years there. Argentina 2-0 win over Austria. Messi scores 2 goals. His World Cup record 17th and 18th in his career there. Now has 5 goals in 2 games in this World Cup. And then Norway's a 3-2 winner over Senegal behind 2 goals from Erling Haaland there. So the Stars are coming out here in the World Cup. The U.S. Next match on Thursday, 9 o'clock, I believe, against Turkey. It really, for all practical purposes, means nothing, correct?
It doesn't mean a thing.
Yeah. It'll be interesting how the USA approaches that, because you've got your knockout round game the following Wednesday on July 1st. Do you rest a lot of the guys? Do you play a lot of backups?
I think you rest them.
Yeah.
And especially the kid, how does he?
Pulisic.
Is that how he says it?
I think
Pulisic.
Yeah. I think
well, he has a shin injury.
Yeah.
So, hey, why chance that? Just let him rest. Let everybody get rested up, because you're going to the knockout round. One loss, and it's sayonara.
Absolutely. Let's go to our bottom of the hour break and visit with Corey Riggs on the other side.
This is the starting lineup. We'll be right back. And the starting lineup is brought to you by Played Against Horns, by Swing Right Golf, by Marshfield Chevrolet, by Citizens Bank of Rogersville. Great to have you with us on a beautiful Tuesday. Ned Reynolds along with
Scott Puryear.
And we have a special guest.
Special guest is our Tuesday morning guest each week. He brings us the Missouri State Report. Welcome in Corey Riggs, voice of the Bears. Corey, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Have you gotten your fill of soccer yet, or are you still excited for more?
I was thinking about this morning that we are at the stage now where I can't differentiate one team from the other, except for the true powerhouses. I know, I'm watching Argentina with Messi, and by watching, I mean I'm checking the box scores and the scores there. But there's so many countries there, you're kind of going, okay, are they good? Are they not good? Who was supposed to win that? Are they upset with a draw? And that's kind of where we are, I think, in week 2 here at the World Cup.
Well, I say the Messi storylines have been amazing. 5 goals in 2 matches for him, pretty much cementing him as the GOAT. Mbappe with France is amazing to watch, too. He had a brace yesterday. But my favorite thing is learning that Turkey changed their name 4 years ago, and I had no idea. I mean, the U.S.'s next opponent, whether Christian Pulisic plays or not, it's Turkey now, Tufurky. I don't know what it is, but apparently they appealed to the United Nations, changed their name 4 years ago, and I didn't get a memo.
Did they change the spelling or change because it's like EII now at the end or something of Turkey?
I think it's like IYE or something.
Yeah,
but it's they've changed the spelling and the pronunciation on us, and here I thought I knew the name of a country, and I apparently didn't.
Hey, you can change the name of stadiums, you can change the name of countries. What can you not change these days with just a little effort there? Corey, what's campus like right now at Missouri State? Is it the calm before the storm? Any coaches around? Or are they out getting their vacation time right now and getting ready for a big July and August?
Well, it kind of depends on what coaching staff you're a part of, guys. Right now, all of the Missouri State volleyball team, I believe, came back to campus on Monday. So things for Coach Stephen McRoberts and Lori and Bree are about to heat up as they've got their team back. They're going to start getting into workouts. Things are starting to wind down for football now. As they're about to take a week or so off and send everybody home and on their way and get some much-needed downtime. Scott, football had 48 recruits in over this last weekend for the class of 2027. And if you've been following along like I have on Twitter, a ton of them committed before they got out the doors of Plaster Stadium or the Forsyth building this weekend to be a part of what Casey Woods is building on this Missouri State campus. So a ton of guys were in for football, a bunch have committed already. Meanwhile, basketball, men's and women's basketball is having practice every morning. They've been having youth camps on campus as well. And then you've been keeping up with Joey Hawkins and the baseball Bears. They are grinding in the portal right now because that's been opened, since they got done with regional play. And even though there's still, we're less than 24 hours away from crowning a national champion last night, the portal is open and there's a ton of work to do in baseball.
I think, I didn't see a release yesterday on basketball, men's basketball. So are we done with the nine portal newcomers, or is there more maybe coming here later on in the summer?
I think there's more. I think my count is at about 12.
Okay.
So I think you've seen all but about 4. But between grades and the NCAA clearinghouse, and some of them being internationally born players and things of that nature. There's definitely a lot of red tape to get through before you make an official announcement, but it doesn't mean that they aren't on campus and getting work in with Coach Martin, Coach Crump, and Coach Harris and the rest of the staff.
You know, and Ned, this is one of the new things we have to adjust to, but think of all those coaches that may be laying on a beach this month in basketball and, you know, maybe doing camps here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, but they're out with their family. And then Dusty May announces he's leaving Michigan, and it opens up a portal window for the entire Michigan roster. And all of a sudden, if you needed a point guard, there's Elliot Cadeau sitting out there. So I don't know if those coaches, if they hold back a spot, you know, in the event something like that happens, especially at the power forward level, if they just say, okay, I got one in my back pocket just in case I need it, and something like that happens. Would you agree? I mean, I know probably none of those guys are going to fall to Missouri State, but there's a lot of school, you know, Bill Self at Kansas and people like that are probably sitting there today going, oh.
Keep in mind now who the replacement for Dusty May is. It's Mike Boynton, who is a longtime coach at Oklahoma State and an assistant at Michigan. So the players, for the most part, are probably very familiar with him and what he can do. But again, it does leave an opportunity for them to get into the transfer portal with a new coach coming in.
Well, and you know, you think about it, Corey, that these kids aren't maybe the biggest problem. It's the agents or the handlers. Mm-hmm. And if you're correct, let's say you're Elliot Cadeau's agent or handler now, you're going, well, hey, wait a minute. We just got another bargaining chip because there's somebody out there that needs a point guard that didn't feel like they got what they needed. And now we have a window here to go shopping again or shop ourselves. That's the world we're in now.
No, and you don't have to necessarily leave, but it may give you opportunity to roll up your NIL package and offerings just a little bit more on the threat of leaving, which unfortunately is part of the business model now, because there is those opportunities. Coaches leaving trigger that sort of emergent window that allows the players the opportunity to find elsewhere to be and to shop their skills around. So you never know. I think I agree with Ned. I think considering who the replacement is, that most of that team will probably stay intact, though.
And you have to think that Elliot Cadeau would be one of them. After all, this is not his first college to which he transferred. Oh. And coaches have to take a look at a circumstance like that where a guy has made a commitment one and then reneges on the commitment number two. And, hey, there are just so many variables involved. I think he probably stays at Michigan.
You know, of course, a lot of it has to do with who comes back around him, too. You know, I mean, we were talking about the NBA mock draft, and you know, two bigs from Michigan mentioned in the first 15 picks, so those guys are gone. And I haven't noticed that, you know, transfer portal rankings. I'm sure when you're the reigning national champion, you probably do okay in the portal because those kids that are looking to go somewhere recognize opportunity. You know, if there's a lot of kids leaving there, hey, I can go in and play for somebody with a built-in chance to be really, really good there. But speaking of that and reloading and rebuilding, Missouri State baseball, a lot of that on tap for them in the portal. Kind of where are we now on that in terms of what you can say and what you can't say so far?
Oh, well, I know Coach Hawkins was out and about yesterday talking about a couple of different guys that they've been able to sign through the transfer portal. One is a name that I think will be pretty familiar to Missouri State baseball fans because we play Mizzou a couple of times a year, and that's center fielder Caden Peer, another Chesterfield, Missouri kid. Ned, Scott, you guys know we've done pretty good with former CBC cadets as members of the Missouri State baseball team, and Caden Peer, I think, is going to fill in nicely, and that answers the question of what are you going to do in center field as soon as Caden Bogenpole gets drafted? Well, the answer is go get you an SEC center fielder and a guy that I saw in multiple highlights this year go up and over the wall and rob people of home runs. He is a defensively elite center fielder, had a grand slam against Ole Miss in the SEC tournament, so he's got some pop. So Caden Peer is one guy that's going to be added to the mix. Went in and got another SEC arm in Tristan Hunter. Everybody remembers watching this young man who just finished his sophomore season when he was down in Forsyth, Missouri, playing down there. that Kentucky pitching staff was really, really good this year. There just wasn't a lot of opportunities for a guy like Tristan Hunter. I think he had maybe 17 appearances and an ERA under 7, but we remember how good his stuff was when he was at Forsyth. He can get strikeouts, he can get swing and misses. So he's getting an opportunity to come back to the Ozarks, and the Bears went out and got another power arm. I think you guys talked about it the other day when you saw it on Twitter, but Fisher Cantrell, because while we think the departure of Dusty may not lead to breaking up Big Blue there in Michigan, everybody is abandoning ship at Jacksonville State for the most part with Steve Beezer's departure to Grand Canyon University. And Fisher Cantrell is a sophomore. He's a Georgia native, big 6'5" right-hander with good velocity, a good 4-pitch mix, and he's going to be a guy that makes the move from Jacksonville State to Missouri State. So a couple of arms and a center fielder already signed, sealed, and delivered through the portal for Joey Hawkins and the Bears.
Was Cantrell hurt this year at times, or just how did they use him? Because it didn't look like he had a lot of innings. Was he coming in out of the bullpen for the most part?
He was. He only had one start of the 9 appearances that he made, but opposing batting average of 167 against him, 19 strikeouts to 7 walks, and the Bears think there's a lot of upside to what he is. He is a pro project sort of pitcher at 6'5", has played good in the summer leagues, played for the Bluefield Ridge Runners a summer ago, but just a big power arm, kind of like Coleman and some of the guys the Bears have had in the past that hopefully can have a better run at Missouri State than he did with the Gamecocks.
And do they project him as a rotation guy at Missouri State?
That I don't know yet. That we'll have to wait and see the rest of the signings that come through this portal period.
I know you can't comment because it hasn't gone through the channels yet, but we did see that Michael Rodriguez from Bethune-Cookman, an all-SWAC first-team outfielder, guy very, very good with the bat, has also announced he's coming as well. How many total new Bears, when we get to mid-July, the draft's over, how many total Bears do you think, new Bears, will be on the roster by August when the classes start?
Well, I mean, when you walk around the starting lineup and think about who was starting for this team in the regional, and you start looking around and going, well, the outfield most days was Gabe Ressler, Caden Bogenpole, Tag Gollert. Gabe and Tag are out of eligibility. Bogey's getting drafted. So you've got to have an entirely new outfield. Other than maybe Jax Ryan, if he stays in the outfield, pretty much he and Logan Fife are the only 2 everyday position players that are coming back. So you need 7 position players and a ton of arms, because most of the departures that I've seen so far have been pitchers going elsewhere. Saw Sam McLaughlin's going to North Dakota State now after 2 years. He was one of Joey's kids that had moved down from Canada to play here. So a number of pitchers have gone into the portal. I think Brody McNeil may have just signed with Drury, which would be the second Bear in as many years, because Justin Thomas left Missouri State at the end of last year, went to Drury, played for Scott Nebbs. It looks like Brody McNeil's going to follow that same path. So you've got a lot of guys that are going into the portal. I don't know what the exact number is, but it feels like probably at least 50%.
Wow. And so we think that Bogey and Curry are gone, right? Curry Sutherland going to take that, regardless of where he's picked, he's going to try to get his pro career started. It sounds that way. Max Knight still kind of the wild card there?
I think so. That seems to be what Coach Hawkins has talked a lot about. Bogey was at the draft combine yesterday. I know Curry has been traveling around for some tryouts. So I think it's very evident that both of those guys are going to have an opportunity to add their name to a very illustrious list of young men who have been drafted out of this Missouri State baseball program. Max Knight is still one that's kind of up in the air, but if you saw him in person and you saw that curveball, wouldn't you take a shot at him? Yeah. I know I would. Yeah. I saw what he did against Arkansas. I saw what he did against other teams in Conference USA. So But Max has got the right attitude. I think I mentioned it to you guys before. After the final game at the Lawrence Regional, he told me, hey, Riggsy, if I get drafted, great. I get to fulfill a dream. If I don't, I know I have a home here. So it's just a matter of wait and see till mid-July, and we'll find out over a couple of days of the Major League Draft.
What did OU winning the national title last night do for all college baseball teams? Surely it had to be that inspiration that, hey, you get hot at the right time and anything can happen, because that's what happened with Oklahoma.
That's exactly what happened, but maybe even more so is the reminder that even a middle-of-the-road SEC team is just so much better than maybe a lot of teams in a lot of leagues, guys. I mean, everybody makes the joke about the SEC tagline, it means more. It doesn't just mean more. What it means is their pockets are so deep. The resources are so plentiful that you could even have a bad start to your season, get right at the end of the season, and roll through a field in Omaha of elite teams and talent and walk away with the national championship. It just blows me away how much talent is in that league.
And what he is saying is, in essence, what the argument about NIL and the transfer portal and so forth is. The haves are going to get a whole lot better, and the have-nots taking a dive.
Yeah, but in that league, you have 16 halves. Everybody, 15, not counting Mizzou, because Mizzou doesn't seem to have. Yeah.
Well, Scott, Oklahoma is two-time national champs now in the past, so that resonates with the committee, and they take a look at that, and, hey, where are they?
Yeah,
SEC?
But it was so long ago, I think. 94 the last time. I mean, it's just...
But they have been there. That's just it. They've been to the national championships on a number of occasions before that.
Seven straight SEC championships, I believe, or champions, and 5 of the 8.
Yes.
But then I think it's 6 different schools out of those 7 consecutive years have won the title, which shows you the depth in that league as well, too. So.
Yeah, because LSU won it twice.
Yeah, and then didn't even make the tournament.
That's what
this
gets
year.
you there.
Yeah, and actually,
that's the crazy part for me. I still can't get over the fact that 8 teams go to Omaha each year, and this year was 8 completely different teams from the field a year ago, which shows you, good, bad, or indifferent, Ned, that you can change your team and you can change your stars in one off season of going into the portal, getting the talent that you need. If your coffers are full, you can go out and buy a new team that'll get you to Omaha every off season.
There's the key, buy the new team.
Indiana football, Michigan basketball, they did it and did it well. And and Skip Johnson, to his credit, 3 freshman pitchers, he went out and recruited those guys, out of high school. Yeah. So that was good. Well, Corey, hey, we always appreciate it. We'll talk next Tuesday.
No, sounds good. Don't forget to check out the Lady Bears schedule. Non-conference schedule dropped yesterday.
And what are the highlights?
Kansas, Arkansas. How about Wyoming? Going to Laramie to play Heather Azell's team, the former Kickapoo Lady Chief. That's one that I've got circled. And they've got an MTE in Cancun. They're going to take on a team that was finished in the top 25 in Minnesota, one of the 2 teams they'll play in Mexico.
What time of the year is it?
That one, Ned, is going to be, I think, Thanksgiving weekend, guys, like November 26th, 27th.
Cayman said, I want to go to Mexico for Thanksgiving, right? Yeah.
Hey, what Cayman wants, Cayman gets.
Exactly.
That's fine, as long as she's in a Lady Bear uniform.
She'll pick up a couple more NIL deals down there, too, probably sponsorships when she's in Mexico. So, all right. Hey, Corey, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, buddy.
Sounds good.
You bet.
And we'll take a timeout on the starting lineup. Be right back. And when we return, what's coming up?
Yeah, I'm going to talk to Dan Ryder, Springfield Cardinals GM, here in just a few minutes, top of the hour, talk about the Cardinals' 2-week homestand coming up. And then 8:30, T-Bear, Trenton Berry, will be joining us from racingdirt.com as we do our weekly auto racing fix with the guy who knows most, or if not all of it.
And we invite your calls or text at 447-1021. Mid-show timeout. We will be back shortly.